Would you be the jerk for yelling at your own boyfriend for manspreading? We'll get into that in a bit, but first, am I the jerk for leaving my dad's birthday dinner after overhearing my sister's comment about my miscarriage? A few months ago, me, 28-year-old female, and my sister Eva, 33-year-old female, realized that we were both pregnant. She's been struggling with infertility, so we were all happy for her. I have an older son, 2-year-old male, with my husband, 32-year-old male. Sadly, a couple weeks ago, I lost my baby. We told my family, they were all supportive, but I did sort of pull away from them. They would have tried to avoid discussing Eva's baby around me, but I didn't want to overshadow her, especially since she's wanted this for a long time. I also didn't want to be reminded of my own loss whenever I saw her, so I haven't been to my parents' place for Sunday dinner since, or really spent time with Eva, which we had been doing a lot before. I replied vaguely to any messages about my absence, wasn't the best communication for me. Yesterday, my parents were hosting family dinner for my dad's birthday. I'd been thinking about going because I missed my family, and while of course the pain of losing my child is not faded, I'm at a point where I can at least put it a little to the side to be there for my sister and my new niece when she's born. So I let my family know that we would be coming. However, we had to get a gift for my dad, and then my son had a bit of a tantrum, so we got to my parents' place about an hour late. I wished my dad and then went to the kitchen where my mom, Eva, and my sister-in-laws were, but before I went in, I heard them say my name, so I stopped. My mom was saying something like, "Well, I guess OP's not coming," and Eva said, "What did you expect? She probably changed her mind and is just staying home again." Honestly, I'm sorry for her, but you would think she was the first woman to ever lose a kid, and it's not even her first kid. They then kept talking about other things, but I just wanted to leave. I went and got my husband, who was with my brother-in-law, dad, and brothers in the living room. I told my dad I was really sorry, but we needed to go. They all protested, but my husband could see how upset I was, so he didn't. We got my son and left. When we got home, I just kind of cried for a while. My husband asked me what happened, and I told him. He was angry that she said that, but thought that we shouldn't have abruptly left because my dad had been looking forward to seeing us and my son missed his cousins. After this, I was feeling conflicted. Later, my brother texted me saying my dad had been really upset about us leaving and brought it up at dinner, which caused a whole fight because my mom and Eva realized that I must have heard them talking and my dad is mad about it. My brother said that it was pretty bad and he wished I just stayed so none of it would have happened. Obviously, Eva didn't mean for me to hear that. They were all just frustrated that I'd been AWOL for so long. Now I feel bad because I didn't mean to ruin dinner. Obviously, what Eva said was hurtful, but I can see how my actions might have led to her saying something out of anger, and I could have talked to her about it later instead of just leaving. I don't know. Am I the jerk? ETA for additional context. My family is the type to just drop by at each other's places and see one another multiple times throughout the week, besides just Sunday dinner. Lately, I've been kind of fielding off any requests for people to visit. I just want to, emphasize how close my family is and how abnormal it is for me to not be seeing them regularly, even for a little bit. I haven't been ghosting them, but I just text them saying I'm not feeling up to it for dinner and kind of leave it there. My sister and my mom have always been closer to each other, as have me and my dad. Additionally, my brothers are closer to her since they're all closer in age. I mentioned this in a comment, but we didn't text anyone saying we were going to be late since my family's usually pretty lax about time. Me and my husband usually show up early though, so it is unusual for us to be late and might have been why they thought we weren't coming. Also, my son was continuing to be a handful all the way there, so that kept us busy and we kind of didn't think about notifying anyone. I've started to look into grief counseling now that I feel like I can at least talk about it. As far as she's told us, my sister hasn't had a miscarriage before, she just had trouble getting pregnant to begin with. From what my brother told me, my sister and mom didn't admit to saying anything, they just kind of looked at each other once my dad mentioned me leaving, and he noticed and asked about it. Then one of my sister-in-laws who were also in the kitchen, my other brother's wife, mentioned what they said, and my dad got mad. My other brother was also apparently angry with them, and it just turned into my mom and sister trying to defend themselves, my dad and other brother yelling, and my brother who texted me trying to stay out of it. I would hope that most people who hear this story would think OP is clearly not the jerk. Could OP have stayed and tried to talk it out and point out how hurtful that is? Sure, but is that really the burden that should be on OP's shoulders? I don't think so. If you're in a place where you feel like you should have comfort, respect, and trust in, and you hear this hurtful thing behind closed doors, and especially when you're so emotionally hurt that there's no way you're not going to act out in some way, how could you possibly be the jerk for choosing to remove yourself from that situation? McFlyThrowaway01 commented, "Grief has no time limit. Recovery from a miscarriage sucks because hormones, pain, and suffering emotionally. The fact that your family thinks you needed to seemingly suck it up and get over it is ridiculous. So no, you weren't wrong from taking time and dealing with your loss. Sounds like they're more focused on your sister finally getting pregnant and they want you to do the same. It's like, how dare you make your miscarriage about yourself? Don't you know your sister's pregnant?" So your sister, who has struggled with infertility, finally gets pregnant and decides that a miscarriage is no big deal because it happens all the time, and you already have a kid? Your brother's upset because the family fight wouldn't have happened if you just sucked it up and stayed? No consequence for your mom and sister? I'm sorry, but heck no, not the jerk. Ask your sister if she remembers not being able to get pregnant, and ask her to imagine what she would have done if she overheard you saying, "She's probably staying home again. You know she isn't the first woman to suffer infertility. She can always adopt if she wants a kid so bad." Yeah, your sister likely dreaded being around pregnant women and babies because of her struggles, even if she wasn't vocal about it, but now that she is pregnant and now the only pregnant sister, she thinks she can look down and judge you? Imagine if it was reversed. I bet your family would be having her over for dinner and asking you to stay home because you were pregnant and it was too hard for her. I'm sorry, but she's a selfish jerk and I wouldn't accept any apology she gives if she does. Remember, she isn't sorry because she was wrong for what she said. She's sorry she got caught saying it. And your family's wrong for blaming you for being rightfully upset because your sister faced the consequence of voicing her thoughts out loud. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, am I the jerk for asking my husband's family to leave our wedding after they brought his ex to sabotage us? I, 30-year-old male, black, married my husband James, 32-year-old male, white, last month. It was supposed to be the happiest day of our lives, but his family almost ruined it. For context, James's family has never fully accepted me. They've made comments about how different I am and have openly said they'd wish he'd stayed with his ex-girlfriend Emily. I thought they had finally moved past their issues when they showed up to our wedding, but I was wrong. Halfway through the ceremony, I noticed Emily sitting in the front row with James's family. At first, I was confused, but I didn't want to cause a scene. After the ceremony, things became clear. James's mom came up to him and said, "Are you sure this is what you want? Emily's here and it's not too late to make things right." I was standing right there. I couldn't believe the audacity. When I confronted her, she acted like she was doing James a favor. "We just thought he might want a reminder of what he's giving up," she said. James's dad chimed in saying, "We're just looking out for his future. No offense, but we never saw this relationship lasting." I defended myself, telling them that they were being disrespectful and ruining our day. James's mom brushed me off saying, "We're just being honest. You should be grateful we're even here." I lost it. I told them, "If you can't respect our marriage, you don't need to be here." James overheard the argument and immediately backed me up. He told them that bringing Emily to our wedding was cruel and that if they couldn't just support us, they could leave. His family started arguing, claiming I was too sensitive and turning James against them. Emily had the nerve to approach me and say, "I didn't mean to cause trouble. I just wanted to support James." I told her she wasn't welcome, and she left in tears. Now, James's family is furious, saying I ruined the wedding by making it about drama. But I feel like I had every right to stand up for myself. Am I the jerk for defending myself and asking them to leave? Not only is OP not the jerk here, those people are lucky that the rest of the party invitees didn't grab them and forcefully throw them out like Uncle Phil did Jazzy Jeff. Top Tier Chest commented, "Did your husband stand up for you? Why did you confront his mom about her behavior and not him? It's not your job to uphold boundaries with his family, it's his. If he can't put his foot down and go scorched earth on them for pulling such a crap move, you might want to reconsider the marriage while you still have a chance." OP responded saying, "Yeah, he did, and I'm glad that he did, but I had to confront his family because I feel like that was inappropriate for them to do this, but they need to understand that bringing someone's ex to rekindle while at a wedding is clearly not okay." Our next story is, am I the jerk upset because my boyfriend didn't cook dinner? Yesterday, I, 28-year-old female, went to work at 7 a.m. and didn't get back until 7 p.m. I didn't get a chance to have anything to eat or drink all day due to being nonstop busy. My boyfriend, 29-year-old male, texted to say that he'd gotten me dinner and everything was sorted. When I got home, he had gotten me a sandwich, a samosa, and 2 cookies. Today, I was at work for the same amount of time. I managed to have a soft drink and a chocolate bar. I came back home and he had gotten me some pasta and jacket potatoes. I am absolutely starving and said we'd have pasta, but then realized he hadn't brought any pesto, so I didn't really fancy plain pasta. My boyfriend wanted jacket potatoes, but they're going to take an hour and I didn't want to wait that long. I suggested pizza for a quick meal, but again, he wanted jacket potatoes. He was asking what my problem is. I lost my temper and told him to go home because I don't have the energy to deal with him. I am so exhausted, all I wanted was to relax and have dinner. Am I the jerk because I was upset he didn't cook me dinner? He had bought food with his own money. He hasn't had any work this weekend. He's been at my house all day chilling. All I was looking forward to was a cooked meal. He told me I'm an ungrateful brat and he's gone back to his mom's now. I'm in bed crying and can't bring myself to eat. So I'm assuming OP included the first situation where the boyfriend got OP a sandwich, a samosa, and 2 cookies as trying to be like an example of a poor dinner or something like that. Now, don't get me wrong, could the boyfriend have done more here, and is there a complete lack of brownie points going on here or consideration? Sure, but it is your boyfriend that you don't actually live with, and I don't think OP ever described saying any kind of like agreement or understanding that he should be providing dinner. Unless you guys made a promise or there's some kind of expectation that he should be providing that, I think it kind of becomes more OP's just not taking care of themselves. Accomplished Ad 2747 commented, "Why are you not managing your food? Do you always starve yourself all day and turn yourself into a hangry dragon? Or is this new and a reaction to having the boyfriend over? Honestly, I think this is on you. You're the jerk. You need to start eating a proper breakfast and you need to have an after-work snack prepared. Particularly if you aren't going to sort out some sort of food into your work schedule. A boyfriend isn't a live-in maid any more than a girlfriend is, and you totally blew your top at someone who was cooking you dinner." OP responded saying, "We've just come back from a trip which I'd organized for New Year's Eve. To be fair, it's on me for not having groceries in. I'd been too busy with work upon returning, so the fridge wasn't full like it usually is. The issue was he wasn't cooking. He wanted me to do it with ingredients missing." Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my brother-in-law off? Hi all, I just need a bit of feedback because I think I made a mistake. The first time I, 47-year-old female, met brother-in-law, 49-year-old male, and his partner, I was in the first trimester of pregnancy. I was very tired all the time. We were invited to stay with them for a weekend so they could get to know me. The first day, they wanted to go for a 2-hour walk, then lunch, then an afternoon of tennis. After the walk, I was completely drained and said I needed to nap. I was about to doze off when my husband, 46-year-old male, referring to him now as B, came in, started throwing our things in the overnight bag and said, "Come on, we're going." I was confused but followed. Afterwards, B told me that we'd been kicked out because me napping had ruined brother-in-law's weekend. Over the years, I've watched as brother-in-law goes to a relative's place on Mother's Day and makes his mother come to him to celebrate. Makes plans for Father's Day only to constantly cancel at the last second. Brother-in-law sends my 2 kids presents for their birthday, but rather than call them and wish them a happy birthday, expects them to call him to thank him for the gift. 2 years ago, B and I were able to afford our first home. We wanted to have Christmas at our place, and B texted brother-in-law to invite him to our Christmas. Brother-in-law's response? "Oh, we were going to have it at our place." Not even a "thanks for the invite." B and I have spent years quickly organizing last-minute lunches and cakes for his parents due to brother-in-law's cancellations. We happily do this for them because my family aren't in the picture and we very much value them. It all came to a head for me this last Father's Day. Some additional context: my oldest son, 12-year-old male, is on the spectrum and changes in plans really upset him. We had plans to meet brother-in-law in the city for lunch. The day before we were due to go, he canceled because he had been sick all week and had almost been hit by a car in a car park. We decided to continue the lunch without him and rang to change the booking, but found he had already canceled it. We did manage to get a new booking. The next morning, B's parents came over and said they would rather keep it local. It takes an hour to get into the city, so we organized a nice lunch with cake at our house. Unbeknownst to us, my son, upset, sent brother-in-law a message telling him how disappointed and upset he was for brother-in-law canceling. We get a call from brother-in-law during lunch. Father-in-law was shaking his head saying, "Don't answer it." B then got a text from brother-in-law saying, "How dare we let our child send him a message like that?" I sent brother-in-law a message telling him our son is his own person and has the right to express his feelings. I also asked that he not contact us for a while. Brother-in-law sent a message to B saying, "Guess I can't talk to my only brother anymore," with no response to me. Just the general disrespect and my son getting upset at the changes made me snap, so I messaged him saying to stop acting like a toddler, that he was nearly 50 and needed to grow up. But unfortunately now, B is being excluded from family events while brother-in-law gets to go. So, am I the jerk? I don't know if most people will agree with me, but to me, it kind of feels like a bit of grudge and poo-slinging going back and forth. Like I'm fully willing to recognize that brother-in-law did start this whole thing in a pretty ugly way, but this whole thing dragging on and continuing on without either side showing any kind of willingness to compensate or relent, like it getting to the point where both sides are so stubborn and locked their horns together in so hard that it's affecting the rest of the family as a whole, I'm gonna say both sides probably could have done better by the end of the story. Individual ad 9213 commented, "Everybody sucks here. Instead of letting your husband deal with his brother after the Father's Day lunch with your in-laws had ended and after you'd calmed down, you intervened and responded to a message that wasn't even for you. Furthermore, you escalated things needlessly. It seems as if 12 or more years of pent-up anger and frustration at or with him were allowed to come out in that moment. Your husband needs to put on his big boy pants and talk to his older brother and to his parents. He needs to set some boundaries. Your brother-in-law seems quite disrespectful of everyone, as evidenced by his last-minute cancellations on family events. I will grant him that canceling on Father's Day is acceptable, since as you note he'd been sick and it makes sense to try and protect one's elderly parents from whatever he had. However, his canceling with a restaurant without consulting with everyone else is a bit much. By the way, I don't see why your brother-in-law needs to call your children to wish them a happy birthday. A call would be nice, but the gift conveys the wish. What is more, receiving a thank you from a gift recipient is basic politeness. As I've said to my own children and nieces and nephews, a thank you shows gratitude and greases the wheels for the next round of gift giving. OP responded saying, "My husband has set several boundaries over the 16 years we've been together, and brother-in-law has just trampled all over them. I've also seen all the subtle insults brother-in-law has directed at my husband and how they've worn him down over the years. When he stood up to his brother, his family always tell him to back down rather than brother-in-law, so we end up being the ones who always have to make peace. The thing is, he always causes drama and makes everything about himself. I don't have an issue with my kids not getting birthday calls, and of course they're going to call and thank him, but it's just that they have to do it on their birthday when that day is supposed to be about them, but he makes it about him. That's what bothers me. It's hard to convey that in 3,000 characters. Yes, canceling because he was sick was fine, but he also could have canceled earlier in the week as he already knew he was sick. It would have been more courteous and would have given us time to make alternative plans." Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my sister that my nephew is not my baby? My sister, 23-year-old female, lives at home and has a 6-month-old baby. She never moved in with her boyfriend because they live far from each other and neither of them wanted to compromise. Her baby daddy never ever comes around. He's seen their son probably less than 30 days total of his entire life. And because of this, my sister has been treating me, 21-year-old female, and my mom as his other parent. She expects free childcare constantly while she works and whatnot and gets very upset when I act hesitant about it for whatever reason. Because she doesn't want to send him to daycare, she'd be eligible to get free childcare in our state but doesn't trust it. And I love my nephew to death, but these are my child-free college years. I have been parentified and forced to play mommy for my little siblings for years, and just when they're getting to the age that they don't need me so much, I don't think I should be forced to step up and play mommy to another child who isn't mine, especially when I'm on winter break for the next couple of weeks and just want to enjoy sleeping in way too late and being lazy before I'm thrown back into full-time college. This has been happening for 4 months at this point though, so when she asked if I'd watch him tomorrow, I got a bit of an attitude but ultimately said yes. But to that, she got snappy with me and was like, "Why do you always act like you don't want to do it?" To which I got upset and responded, because he's not my kid and I shouldn't be expected to do this all the time. She got very angry at me and is now not talking to me at all, and is surely going to weaponize my nephew against me, and to an extent, sure, I understand her anger. I know that you should be able to rely on your village, and I don't know if I'm in the wrong for not wanting to do this, but I am so tired of taking care of other people's children all the time for free. Even if I love the kids to death, I can't tell if I'm being selfish or not. Am I the jerk here? OP's not the parent. This is not their kid. OP's not the jerk. If you ask me on a personal level whether or not it's ever going to be wrong to say, I want to prioritize my early adulthood years, especially my college days, just living life, rather than being parentified and having to watch somebody else's kid, I'd be willing to look you in the eyes and say no, it's not wrong of you. Cats are the best 68 commented, not the jerk. You did not decide to have a baby, she did. Taking care of the baby is her responsibility. I might be hesitant to put a 6-week-old in daycare, but not a 6-month-old. Now, if he goes to daycare and one day she needs you because the baby is sick and can't go, then I would hope you'd step up. But that should be a rare thing. It's her kid, not yours. Our next story is, am I the jerk for shouting at my boyfriend for manspreading in the car? My 23-year-old female boyfriend, 23-year-old male, was visiting my family for New Year's. We had a nice time. I was staying with my family for a few more days and he was going to see his family. As he doesn't drive, I drove him home. Because we live within walking distance of each other and town, I've never driven him anywhere before. I drive a smallish car with a stick, so when we got in, I politely asked him to keep out of the way of the stick so I could drive safely. He's not much taller than me and his seat was all the way back, so there was more than enough room for his legs. 10 minutes into the drive, he spreads out and I struggled to change the gears, so I said, please move your legs. He did, then spreads out again. The road was long and I didn't need to change gears, so I just said to him that he might need to move his legs soon. Then we went down a narrow road with cars parked on the side. I slowed down as much as I could without changing gear. I wasn't going fast, only 30 miles per hour-ish. And then suddenly the car in front of me stopped. I wasn't expecting this, so I practically did an emergency stop. At this, my boyfriend said, chill, woman. As I was at a stop, I needed to change gears, so I shouted, stop freaking manspreading, let me get to my gears, and you can criticize my driving when your license is pink. He said the woman in the car in front is who he was talking about, but there was no way he could know the driver in front was female. He was then really upset with me and I felt bad for blowing up, so we drove in silence for the rest of the ride. And he's been barely texting me since. Context, I live in the UK. People with pink licenses have passed their driver's test. As a certified, at least last time I checked, man, I can say for certainty that he didn't actually need to spread out that much that he's blocking the gear shift. Maybe there's improvements to be made in communication from maybe both sides even, but I don't think what happened here makes OP the jerk. Tipsy Baker commented, I come from a family of giants. None of them needed so much space that their legs are hitting the gear shift. He wasn't doing that for necessary comfort. He was doing it on purpose. It was stupid and dangerous and not at all acceptable. He was also yelling at you but tried to cover when you called him on it. Don't call for his nonsense. Not the jerk, but stop blaming yourself for getting upset at this guy who's endangering your lives for no reason. Our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to watch my neighbor's kid before school because she kept nagging me? I, female 35, am a stay-at-home mom with 2 kids, John, male 10, and Ava, female 8. My neighbor Zoe, female 42, works full-time and asked at the beginning of the school year if she could drop off her daughter Sue, female 9, an hour before school started twice a week. I agreed and was happy to help out a neighbor. However, things got bad pretty quickly. My kids do not get along well with Sue, and see entertaining her as a chore. Both of my kids enjoy sports, arts, and playing outside, while Sue is glued to her phone. Despite this, Sue pouts when my kids do their own thing instead of trying to engage her. Zoe called me a few weeks into the school year to nag me for having the kids walk and bike to school, saying it was unsafe and asking me to drive Sue. I told her no. If Sue was old enough to have a phone, she was old enough to walk and bike to school. A week later, she asked me to cook real sausage for Sue in addition to the veggie sausage I make for my kids. My husband and I don't buy meat. I told her no, Sue could eat what I cook, but if she wanted specific food, she would have to prepare it herself. For the first semester of school, Zoe nagged me with similar requests. don't play songs with explicit lyrics, don't let multiple kids on the trampoline simultaneously, watch the kids when they're outside, etc. When I refused, she was respectful and would be like, "Sorry to bother you," but she still had new requests every week. At the end of the semester, I told her I was not going to make adjustments to our family lifestyle and inconvenience my family for the sake of her child. Sue's safety was not at risk. If she was unsatisfied with Sue's situation, there were plenty of other people in the neighborhood who could watch her. Zoe seemed really receptive, and I was hopeful that would be the end of her nagging. When my kids got home on December 20th, I asked, "Are you excited for 2.5 weeks with no school?" And John responded, "I'm more excited for 2.5 weeks with no Sue." Ava nodded and giggled along. It broke my heart to know that they were more happy to get a break from Sue than school. Just a couple days ago, Zoe reached out to me thanking me for agreeing to watch Sue and asking if I could watch her a couple of afternoons a week in addition so Zoe could have some me time. I told her this would no longer work. Our kids didn't mesh well and I didn't want to deal with more inappropriate requests. I thought Zoe might be mad, but instead, she just begged me to watch Sue at least one morning a week. She apologized profusely and said I could parent however I wanted to. This made me feel bad because she genuinely needed my help and didn't know what she would do. I told her I knew I could, and that her apology was too little too late. My husband and kids stand by my decision, but some of the other moms think I should have been more accommodating, saying I'm selfish, that moms help moms, and I'll never know when I might need help. Does my refusal to help Zoe make me a jerk? I really feel for OP, I feel for the mom, I kind of feel for Sue even. That's just kind of part of who I am. The mom saying, I really do need at least like one morning still, and knowing realistically, you just kind of have to say no. There's a twinge of heartbreak in there for me somewhere, but still, painfully not the jerk. K23 commented, not the jerk. You did this to your kids for long enough. No, it is time to prioritize them for a change. But some of the other moms think I should have been more accommodating, saying I'm selfish. Tell them, it's great they're volunteering. You'll pass their offer on to Zoe. This next story is, am I the jerk because I refused to give my sister the gift she opened at Christmas? Hello all, this is my first post. Hopefully my long days of lurking taught me something. So this Christmas, we all went to my mid-30s, female, parents' house. My sister, a couple of years younger, came with her husband. They have 2 kids who I love and spoil rotten. My mother asked for a heated blanket this Christmas, and because it's always very complicated to buy shared gifts, I told my sister and father I was buying one for her. When we started opening presents, I realized that my sister and her husband had opened the blanket. They looked at the label and sure enough, they finally gave the blanket to my mom and we opened the rest of the presents. Afterwards, my sister kept saying how she was sad that the heated blanket wasn't for her and looking to see my reaction. The thing is, 2 years ago, she kept complaining she was freezing and wanted a heated blanket for Christmas. So I bought her a heated blanket for Christmas. A few weeks later, she said she wasn't cold anymore and wanted me to give her a specific shirt instead. I tried to keep the peace and return the blanket. That was quite the hassle, and gave her the shirt for her birthday. Back to this Christmas, my mom let my sister use her new blanket, and every time she would see me, she would go on and on about how she loved it and wished she had one. Then my mother said she should ask me for one for her birthday. I kept my mouth shut the first few times, then said you are not getting another blanket from me. At that point, they said she had just made a mistake not keeping the gift, saying, come on, give it to her. That she opened it by mistake and she was all excited. I was more than a little annoyed and said you had your chance. I gave you a heated blanket like you wanted and then you didn't want it anymore. So if you want one, buy it yourself or ask someone else. I learned my lesson. I thought it was over, but a few days ago, my mother told me she was looking for a heated blanket for my sister since I apparently wasn't buying her one. I said that's right and to stop talking about it. I may be the jerk because I'm keeping a grudge and my sister wants the gift she opened by mistake. On the other hand, what's really keeping me from giving it to her is the fact that I don't think she's grateful, and it's very possible that she would once again change her mind if I give in. Am I the jerk? I don't think OP's the jerk here. The bottom line is, you already gave her one. She didn't want it. If she really wants the heated blanket that darn bad, just pop onto Amazon and pick one up. They're like $35. Like, what is the sister even trying to do here? Is OP the Bank of America and they're trying to make a withdrawal? Okay, it's great that you want a heated blanket. Stop staring at me with those goo-goo eyes. Tempting Penguin 369 commented, "Not the jerk. Your sister sounds like a 4-year-old. Sounds like your mother let her get away with this childish behavior way too much when you were both children, and she never grew out of it." But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy Am I the Jerk Here story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.